Once again, live from Modain, Israel, just finishing a continuing guide course at the Church of the Unholy Sepulchre. Hey, where could you go besides the Israel update? Hanok, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Mike. Hope you had a great
Yeah,
Sukkot. After a month of holidays, it's kind of shocking that there's no holiday coming up. Although day after tomorrow, of course, is Shabbat. So well, 2 days,
yeah.
but
I was thinking,
it's
wait a minute, you've got this week. Have you guys
I'm
switched
I'm
to Friday?
I have to tell you, taking down the sukkah and everything. But before we get into that stuff,
Yes, there
because of our
is there is a
absence,
special moment that we have to honor. Go for it.
yes, da 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 da. You say it's your birthday. That's right. We have birthdays again, boys and girls. And who is it this time? Now, what could be cooler than having a birthday fall out during Sukkot? I mean, whoa, that's so rocks. And whose birthday is it? Everyone's favorite little sister, Elizabeth Connor.
That's right.
Elizabeth, sweetie, you're 8 years old. That's right. No more when it comes time to cleaning before Pesach and your sisters are doing everything and your mom asks you, Elizabeth, would you like to help clean? And your response had been in the past, I'd rather not. That is so not appropriate anymore. Forget it. Two quick Elizabeth facts that you may not know about. One is, Mike, among the things you've been renowned for is teaching the world about Shabbatin, Sukkotin. Okay? Well, Elizabeth, a budding Hebraic scholar herself, coined the term Shabbat Shalunch. And I got to tell you, that is incredibly clever. That
Shabbat
is
Shalom.
incredible. Shabbat Shalunch. Now, second thing you may not know about Elizabeth, her middle name is Rose. You say, wait a second, already is a Rose Connor. Yes. But since there are so many of them, they ran out of girls' names and had to begin recycling them.
Okay.
I proved my point because the day before Elizabeth's birthday is the Connor sisters, the next generation. Autumn Connor turned 2 years old.
Okay.
She's already a big sister herself. But now you think, wait a second, Autumn, that's right. Because there are no more girls' names that could possibly be used, they had to go with seasons. Trust me on this one. The next girl coming up, her name's going to be Summer.
Okay.
Summer Connor. You'll see.
All right.
Anyway, let's
Okay.
talk about Israel.
Well, now that you got all that, but there is one more tidbit that you do not know about this darling little girl, and that is that
No.
she has the most incredible goat sound imitation ever. She
Well,
can sound
I
just
got
like
to
a
tell
baby
you,
goat. Yeah, yeah. So, okay. Well,
of
with
course,
all that,
I
yeah.
would have no idea what animal that is, but that's okay.
I have a
That's
picture
okay.
of you petting a goat.
That is true. That is true. And
But
there was that goat that attacked me at Itamar.
that's true too. Yes, yes. I forgot about that one. So, well, now that we have all that, it's been nice talking with you, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you and have a wonderful day.
There you go.
Okay, what's going on here in Israel? Well,
Yeah.
we sent Prime Minister Bennett to New York. And one thing I wanted to mention, because a lot of our listeners are beginning to check the Israeli news. And on things like Ynet and JPost, and certainly with Israel National News, there's not a clear delineation always between an op-ed piece and a news piece. Hence, you said to me, gee, I read something on Israel National News that Bennett said there's going to be a building freeze in Judea and Samaria. Fake news. Never happened. But it was described that way. And you'll see there are those that will pick at Prime Minister Bennett for whatever he did.
Yeah.
He wasn't harsh enough at the UN. He was too colloquial with the Jewish community in New York, blah, 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 blah. Of course, you had, oh, let's not pick on the American government. That's just way too easy and way too simple. Things here in Israel. We did catch the last of the escapees from Gilboa prison, as I'm sure by now everyone knows. The anti-BDS legislation that many US states have has already begun to bear fruit against Unilever, the parent company of Ben & Jerry's. Already, Arizona and Florida have pushed to divest from Unilever, from their state pension funds.
Okay.
So what are we talking about? We're not talking about you and I going elsewhere for our ice cream cones. We're talking about $300 million between those two states' pension funds. Okay, so that's significant. You now have New Jersey and the Republic of Texas going through the same process. So we'll see where this all leads. But it does prove that people of consciousness, people of conscience, forget it. I mean, this is terrible. Hebrew, English, it's bad. But in any way, people for whom this matters, this is a really big thing. I was looking on social media and everyone was breaking down their Sukkotan camps and all that stuff. I hope all of our listeners had a meaningful Sukkot. We do have a long dry spell. Yes, there is Hanukkah. Yes, there is Purim. But it's quite a ways till Pesach.
Yeah, it is.
So, anyway, you're about to say something and I cut you off.
Oh, so you've taken down your Sukkot? Everything's packed away, ready for.
Well, if I raise the camera on my MacBook, you'd see that it's packed away, like sitting behind me, because it's got to go up on top of the closets here.
Oh, okay.
And
got it.
I've got a couple hundred books. So
yeah. So let's go to one of the things that happened in America. This proposal with the Iron Dome and how this was almost not voted in, and then it was, which caused AOC to cry. Yeah, I know, kind of crazy. But what this shows is there was many years that the support of America toward Israel was like, of course. And
take it to the bank. Absolutely.
Yeah, it will never change. Nobody will ever change this. America will always stand with Israel. And I've been saying this for years, this is not going to happen. Well,
nope.
It squeaked by this time. But the growing anti-Israel sentiment in the United States is it being talked about there in Israel?
Yeah, and there's great cause for concern. During the Netanyahu administration, he went out of his way to antagonize the Obama administration. If you remember, going and speaking to Congress without the approval of the White House. I mean, it was really tacky. And then during the Trump administration, Netanyahu firmly aligned himself with the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not only, everyone has been focused on the results of the election. Was it stolen? Was it not stolen? Was it stolen a lot? Was it stolen a little? But many of our friends seem to have forgotten that the House of Representatives and the Senate are controlled by the Democrats.
Yeah.
So in other words, this is something that's happened over a period of a number of years, and many of our friends were asleep at the wheel.
Hmm.
Trump's in the White House, everything's going to be okay, okay, everything's coming up roses, and little by little things have changed. Now, you mentioned AOC. What's interesting is she voted present
Yeah.
as opposed to against, but more interesting is she's going to be running in the Democratic, I guess, primary against Chuck Schumer for the New York Senate seat next election. Schumer, in my opinion, is a buffoon, but he's been a relatively strong supporter of Israel. This is the sign of the times. And the reason I mentioned about the House of Representatives and the Senate is because so many, I mean, y'all have midterm elections coming up in a few years, but no one's talking about that. Everyone's looking on the horizon. 2024, Trump is going to run again. And you got to be looking to 2022. But
yeah, well, there is talk. I mean, there is talk about it. It's it's not as heated yet as it's going to be pretty soon, I think. There's all kinds of stuff that's going on with that. This brings up a question regarding AOC, Schumer, all these people. Jews as a bloc normally will vote Democratic. Do you see this ever changing?
No, because of whom American Jews are,
yeah,
and what their values are. I mean, as I've mentioned many times before, they're 3 or 4 generations at best removed from any involvement whatsoever in the Jewish community. There is no Jewish gene, where you feel interested and compelled to. I mean, I was reading something that these Jewish students at Boston University, which used to have a very, very, very strong Jewish component to it, were taking a class on the Shoah, on the Holocaust, because they saw in current events a shocking parallel, their term, not mine, between Israel's actions against the Arabs in Judea and Samaria, and they always include Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had anything to do with Gaza since 2005, but let's not confuse the issue with facts.
Right.
I mean, they are so warped and distorted. I've been saying this for years, and it reinforces since last Sukkot the I can't shake the feeling that we're all being sorted.
Mm-hmm.
We're all being sorted out, and there's just a remnant. Now, I've said for years, forget the Jewish community, forget the Jews in America, forget it. And, people were sending me these. I love when people try to out sarcasm me. I mean, seriously, do you all know who you're dealing with?
Yeah.
In the last year, look at how many people are opening up an Aliyah file with Nefesh B'Nefesh. These are American Jews who well, as they say colloquially, where they at? Where are they? They're not, I heard the same thing in 2008 with the Bernie Madoff scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jews, I lost my job because of it.
Yeah.
The Jewish Community Center that I was working for, $110,000 a year, they didn't have the donations anymore because people lost it with Madoff. So people saying, well, they can't afford yeshiva tuition for their kids. They're going to come on Aliyah. They didn't. That was 2009. That was 12 years ago.
So there's a difference between opening up a file with Nefesh B'Nefesh and actually going forth and doing something.
That's right. Yeah.
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 And it's really it's wild. And do you know what was I think about you often, Mike, and I no, come on now.
Okay.
And I was thinking about, in your wallet you carry that card that speaks of the five something that Christians should for. Now, what is it? The four what?
Four responsibilities that we have
Ah,
to Israel and the Jewish people.
responsibilities. Now, they're not good suggestions. They're not nice ideas. They're not, y'all may want to consider this. These responsibilities or obligations.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going down the road of, Mr. Negativity, but now is the time. Now is that, we've all survived Yom Kippur, and we think we made it into the good side of the book, quote unquote. But now is the time to focus. You can't say, well, we're going to be out camping, for a week, and, we're dunking ourselves in the creek and, whatever. No, I mean, and there are some people for whom Sukkot hasn't happened yet because they're,
Yeah, there's going to be more. So let me throw a little curveball at you because we didn't have time. You were delayed today, and I've been looking at this computer or video screen all day long so far. Let me ask you a question. We're coming into the new Torah cycle. This week, we begin with the infamous words of Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, of Elohim created the heavens and the earth. This begins a journey for us of going through the Torah.
yes.
I challenged people as I was teaching this morning on my program for this weekend. I challenged people. I asked a question: what are you wanting out of this Torah cycle? What is it that you're walking into? Are you walking into this Torah cycle just like, okay, well, let's open the page and move on, or are you going to be intentional in the study?
That's right.
So,
Great question.
with that, what is Hanokiah going to be intentional about in this Torah cycle?
I always look for things that I can share with people that I hope will reinforce this idea that right now Hashem is looking to us to be partners in creation. He's looking to us, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Judah and Israel, Judah and Ephraim. He's looking to us. He's going to make us one in his hand, but this is where we've got to, as you like to say, show that we can play nicely together with each other in the sandbox. So I'm always like, is there something I haven't shared? Is there a verse that I could point to? I'm always hoping that I can reinforce the idea that people shouldn't just be sitting and contemplating their navel, but rather, it's almost like that old song, one pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small. And this is, Jefferson Airplane. Stop living exclusively in the clouds. Take your dreams and make them a reality. Hashem is giving you the bracha, the blessing of a new day. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. Yeah, let's do it. This is the time. And I got to tell you, I can't help feel that part of this isolation that we've been forced to live in here in Israel due to this whole COVID stuff, I can't help but think that there's a part of it where Hashem was saying to many people, certainly not to you, Mike, oh, you don't care about Joe? Fine, no problem. There was even a while when Ben Gurion was closed where Jews who wanted to make Aliyah could not.
Yeah.
Now, Jews cannot simply come to Israel. My daughter Kira, her sister-in-law is expecting in November. It turns out it's going to be a boy. So there's going to be a Brit Milah. Kira, well, actually, Kira has it, but Zach, her husband, to go see his sister, would have to apply to some government functionary to be allowed in as a first-degree relative, plus all the things of, you know, the vaccine and the testing and all that stuff. I can't help but think, you know, it's interesting. In Memories Today, today's the 29th, I think. Yeah, September 29th. I posted that Israel was continuing their lockdown. This is last year.
Yeah.
So someone wrote and said, how many people have died from COVID? And it was about 1,500 last year. And he happens to be a nurse. And he said, well, you know, in America, some gazillion thousand people. So I pointed out to him gently that America is 368 million people, and Israel has 9. Well, guess what? It's a year later, and our fatalities are at 7,700. You know, this is the itch that won't go away. And, you know, it's a far greater concern is Iran.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, after running away from the Taliban, you know, America's not going to step on, you know, stand with us. I mean, we're at a real crucial juncture, excuse me. But this is the time, again, I said, to build your families, to build your own faith, to build your families, to build your communities. You know, I haven't given up on the idea of the national restoration of Ephraim. Certainly haven't given up on that. I can't give up on that. But we've got to take a step back, and we've got to put those Lego blocks together where they could support a much larger structure. We're not there yet.
How do you see, or have you thought about this? I know this is just kind of throwing stuff out at you without talking to you. How do you see the Shemitah? We're entering into the Shemitah year. How do you see the Shemitah, not from the agricultural aspect, but maybe from the spiritual aspect of Israel?
Perfect. From the spiritual point of view, Shemitah is the time of renewal. You are dedicating your land to be left alone, to allow, dare I say it, Mother Nature, you know,
creation be better, maybe.
Yeah, to allow Hashem to allow to happen the mechanism that he has placed to allow the land to restore itself. We don't have to pump it full of all kinds of fertilizer. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. That's our message to ourselves. And that ties in with the new Torah cycle as well.
Well, let me run this thought by you. I started off the morning recording because of the end of Sukkot yesterday, that I'm going to go through the Torah cycle in a very simple manner. I want to just keep the simplicity of not trying to dig. And then I was I was on the Foundation for Life with Barry, and it dawned on me that in the Torah, in the Shemitah year, we're not supposed to be digging. we're supposed to be reaping the
Thank you.
fruit that's just there. It's hanging. It's already there. And so to me, this is not a year to dig deeply into the Torah and try to find new seed, plant new seed and stuff. This is a year to just look at it, the face value of it, and reach up and pick the fruit.
That's such a beautiful, straightforward way. Some would describe it as simplistic. That's the wrong term. It's straightforward. It's straightforward. That's like when people will say the term pshat means the simple meaning. No, it's the plain, straightforward meaning. There's a big difference. Because if you describe something as simple, it's like you described it as something as old. Yeah. It's out of date. It's not useful. There's something better.
Well, it goes back to something that I've talked about many times of at the time of the gold rush, when people are frantically trying to find gold. There were many people that died of starvation.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to find the gold nugget, but they failed to eat the daily bread.
Yeah.
I think for me, this is a year of the daily bread, receiving the daily manna from the Torah, and just, again, just picking that fruit that's nice and easy instead of trying to dig things out. That's just where I'm going.
That's a great way of looking at it. So I was on this guides course today. I have another one tomorrow. And then interestingly enough, I've signed up for, it's the entire month of October, Monday through Thursday, 3.5 hours a night on Zoom about Christianity, Holy Land. Because again, remember, the Christian denominations that are big time stuff here are groups that don't even exist in America. We have Catholics. We have all, the Armenians, Copts, all the, I'm trying to keep my mind going. But I bumped into someone today as I was leaving the old city, someone that I knew, and he asked me, he said, so there's no tourism yet. He said, how are you living on faith? So I really wanted to say, I'm sorry, excuse me. Was I given an option? So it's a sense of hoping to be able to, and that's again tied in with Shemitah, of sustaining yourself in a year when, there were all kinds of kind of social welfare funds to assist farmers who won't be earning a living. Again, there are different ways of
Whoops. Looked like you froze up there. We have a few little internet connection problems here, but it appears that Hanok is totally frozen in space. So it's not coming back. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will be back again. Bezrat Hashem will be back again next Wednesday, and hopefully internet connections will be better. See you then.